What's that?
This is a refreshing mint tea on ice. I drink it daily because studies show that it can help reduce elevated testosterone and as a result help me manage PCOS symptoms like acne, mood, hair loss. My other favorite flavor is their electric turmeric, which helps with immunity while providing anti-inflammatory support. Great for PCOS. It's also blended with ginger, which is great for digestion, and cinnamon to help support healthy blood sugar and combat cravings.
But I don't see a tea bag in it.
That's right. Peak delivers concentrated antioxidants and plant nutrients that are extracted with cold brew crystallization, so I don't need a tea bag. I can easily just pour it into hot or cold water. There's no prep or brewing necessary, and for something I plan to consume every day, I want to ensure that it's pure too. Studies show that those other fancy tea bags leak billions of microplastics into your tea. Peak has been triple toxin screened for pesticides, heavy metals, and toxic mold. They make it super accessible to get effective and pure tea.
Wow, that's amazing. Let me try some.
Sure. Head over to peaktea.com/sister, spelled PIQUETEA, and use our code, The Sisterhood, one word, to get 5% off your first order.
All right, babe, let's take a moment to correct our posture, take a deep breath, and have some pure spectrum CBD.
Sure. Hey sisters, CBD can help with acne, inflammation, anxiety, sleep, and so many other PCOS symptoms. I personally take it throughout the day to help keep my stress hormones nice and low. Not to mention, I sleep like a baby every night and I don't wake up fatigued at all.
Now open your mouth, please, so I can give you a serving.
Ah.
Now hold it for 60 seconds. Head over to purespectrumcbd.com and use the code THESISTERHOOD, one word, for 10% off.
Can I stop now?
Nope, you got 30 more seconds.
Welcome to A Sister and Her Mister, a podcast where we show you the real behind the scenes of how we balance the PCOS lifestyle in our marriage, gluten and dairy free. I'm Talene, your fellow sister and registered dietitian.
And I'm Sirak, husband, engineer, and PCOS personal trainer. We're gonna make PCOS a little less overwhelming and a lot more fun.
Sister and her mister.
3 and a 2 and a 1. Welcome, sisters.
Hey, sisters.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about vegetarian/vegan diet for PCOS, pros and cons. Is it right for you? Vice versa. Any other magical words I can say to make it sound pleasant? But we're going to get into it.
We get a lot of DMs about vegetarian diets, and people ask us if we cater to the vegetarian diet in the sisterhood and so on. So we want to talk all about our stance on the vegetarian diet, the pros and cons, and all the fun things about being a vegetarian.
Definitely. But first, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been leaving reviews on our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We really appreciate it. So many positive feedback. And it, honestly, when we first wake up in the mornings, we actually open up the podcast, usually on a Tuesday because Monday is a new episode. And we open it up on Tuesday to see, how people liked it, the feedback, the reviews. And, it's literally we sit up in bed like children at 8 in the morning.
Christmas Day.
Yeah, reading the reviews and, telling each other, oh, my God, it's so nice.
It's so nice. It's so nice to know that we can impact people so positively. It really makes doing this podcast so worthwhile. And we get so excited when we sit here to make a podcast for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually wanted to do something a little fun right now. There's this trend, I guess, on social media where people are asking, their followers, what are your assumptions about us? And then you kind of read them and then say if it's true or not. So we did that on Instagram a few days ago. Talene asked, what are your assumptions about us? Why don't you read them, babe?
Okay, I'm going to read my favorite one first. This is by Abby Jacobo. She says, he secretly hates the eating lifestyle. I was cracking up when I read this.
The gluten and dairy-free lifestyle, right? Imagine I hated it, and I was just lying about it this whole time too.
A year and a half of marriage later, you break and you're like, I can't do this anymore. Give me a cheeseburger.
Yeah, I've been basically 95% gluten dairy-free the year and a half that we've been married. Imagine I was secretly hating it, and I was just writing in my diary. She's giving me chickpeas again. Chickpeas.
This gluten-free bread is too small. No. My cooking's good.
I think it's probably a joke, but that's a great joke. And
love it.
honestly, I love being gluten and dairy free because I know like the benefits. It's helping me even though I don't have PCOS.
All right. So then there's another one. She says, Rachel Winnie, sorry. You've both always been healthy. Have we both always been healthy?
I think maybe true for a while. For me, like I started becoming like healthy around the age of like 19 and I'm like 29 now. So for 10 years. But I would say up until I was like 18, 19, I was not that healthy. Like I was eating.
Same.
I was like eating out, like, takeout from like fast food places and like eating different foods because I was like young, busy schedule with school and all this crazy stuff.
And like your metabolism's great at 18 usually.
And I didn't know a lot of stuff that I know now. Like a lot of stuff that I know now I learned from podcasts that I've been listening to for the last 10 years, like Joe Rogan Experience and so much more. And that's how I became healthy. What about you, babe? When did you, what year do you think you started becoming healthy?
I think I always ate generally healthy because we had Armenian food, growing up, and so did you. But we didn't really buy junk food. There was one point, I think like maybe it was like in middle school or something, like I bought like Oreos and like ice cream and things like that. I remember having that in the kitchen and starting to like get an addiction towards it.
Yeah.
And then that was temporary though. Like I don't remember having a complete like phase of eating super unhealthy.
Would you say maybe when you start to figure out things for your PCOS, would you say that then?
Well, yeah. Once I started figuring out what's right for my body, having PCOS, I realized that the way I was eating wasn't right for me. And so I guess that's considered like unhealthy for me, like having gluten and dairy and, like we used to eat like cereal and milk and that's just like a bowl of gluten and dairy and then,
sugar and all that stuff.
And sugar and like everything that's bad for PCOS. So, I mean, for some people, so, there was that, but I was never like into fast food. Generally, like
okay, so you've been healthy for most of your life. Okay, sorry.
Just
it looks like Colleen has been healthy all her life. I was like trying to get to the details, like, but what about your PCOS? But what about this?
Yeah.
But there's a
right
response to everything.
PCOS,
It seems no. There's a response to everything. It seems.
I thought it was healthy. It was healthy. Armenian food.
Yeah. No, it's homemade food.
Other people think it's healthy. You know what I mean?
For real. For sure.
I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to some other assumptions.
You look good together and your husband's voice is kind of cute and so motivational.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, that's cute.
I don't know about kind of. I think it's really cute.
Oh, God. Your best friends. This is true.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, we're with each other day and night and like we get along 99.9% of the time.
Yeah. What's that 0.1?
You know exactly what that 0.1.
Okay. Let's see. I mean, they're all pretty much the same. Everyone's saying all these cute things. You both look great. You guys are cute.
Didn't someone say you wear the pants in the house?
Oh yeah.
How dare you?
I don't wear the pants.
I'm like that who's that 15-year-old girl who was getting mad at the political leaders for climate change?
Oh yeah.
Greta, how dare you?
Yeah. No. I mean, it's 50-50. It's a lot of work to wear the pants.
Yeah.
And be in charge all the time.
I would say we're 50-50 on that.
Yeah, I don't think in any instance in the past year and a half of marriage, it's been not 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's been pretty much we always consult each other on like big decisions and things like that. And
The bottom line, like you want your partner to be happy. The Mr. is Indian.
No, we're actually Armenian. I know. I guess I kind of like Indian, but no, we're Armenian.
Yeah.
And yeah,
you guys were
very
Hispanic.
proud to be Armenian.
No, we're Armenian. You secretly eat lots of ice cream.
Maybe when we were on our honeymoon, we were eating like ice cream for dessert with every dinner. But I would say like it's not that often, especially like considering summer, how hot it was. We did not have ice cream at all, it seems. Like maybe once a month.
Sometimes when guests came over, they brought some ice cream, regular and dairy-free. And then that would like, our freezer is small and that would like take over our freezer.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like usually we like to eat ice cream like when we're out, not really at home. Like we like to eat it when we're like trying to enjoy like a view or something like
you're like
dinner.
Doing something. You want to try some delicious flavor.
We haven't done that in a long time. Like we haven't ate out at a restaurant since March.
Yeah.
Other people are doing it. We haven't even got takeout. No joke. No takeout. No. We did takeout one time and we regretted it because the food was freezing by the time we
Freezing.
got home. And yeah, like since March, we've only got takeout one time and not been to a restaurant. And it's been super hard. I mean, more harder on Tallinn because she's cooking every day.
Every
God bless your
day.
soul.
And
My
a
love.
new meal every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had fish tacos last night. It was
Yeah.
bomb.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the
Enough
what is
rambling.
it? To the itty gritty.
Vegetarian diet, the nitty gritty.
Nitty gritty, yes. We're gonna go into the vegetarian, vegan diet, what you came here to listen about.
Mm-hmm.
I like to first give a disclaimer though.
Yes.
So if you're a vegetarian or vegan, because of religious reasons or for the reasons of like, animal cruelty and things like that, we just want to say we completely respect your decision. And what we may say in this podcast may not matter to you, and we completely understand and respect that. Like, if you're doing it for religious reasons and animal cruelty, totally understand.
And if it works for you, we totally understand. Like, we're not trying to push anything on anyone. We
Absolutely.
just want to give the information, and then you can make the right decision for your body.
Absolutely. So let's start with, what is a vegetarian diet, babe?
So this eliminates all meat products like cow, lamb, fish, and focuses on plant sources such as fruits and vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts. All of this has some protein in it, and seeds and legumes. So it's, a very nutrient dense diet if you do it, in a mindful way.
Yeah. So that's like basically
not too complicated.
Yeah. Great.
Slash out the meat.
Yeah, pretty much. No animal, no meat products, things like that.
Yeah.
Is veganism when they take out all the animal products like dairy and like things like that?
Yes.
So that's the difference, right? Vegetarian, you take out the meat, and then with vegan, you take out all the animal products,
Right.
including the dairy, like milk and things like that.
Milk and cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So there are some health benefits
All right.
to being on the vegetarian diet. And then there are some concerns for women with PCOS. Let's start with the health benefits, babe.
Sure.
So if you're eating a balanced vegetarian diet, you're probably getting lots of nutrients like vitamin B6, vitamin C, folate, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, beta carotene, and fiber. Lots of fiber. This is a really nutrient dense diet if you make sure that you're not leaning towards carbs and processed foods, just manufactured like things that come from a box versus eating things that are whole foods.
Yeah.
So if you're having whole foods, you're going to get lots of great nutrients in your body, which is great to like replenish the minerals that you lose maybe when you take metformin or when you take birth control. So
yeah,
wonderful.
and it's also good for like heart health, because of all the nutrients that Tali mentioned, as well as having maybe like a abundant amount of like meats and things that could contribute to cholesterol and things like that. So as a result, like your heart health is better. Same thing with blood pressure. There's even like studies showing that it can reduce cancer risk for some people, and not to mention there's a lot of like ethical benefits, right? Like it's great for the environment in a lot of cases, and it's great for animals. We're reducing animal cruelty when people are becoming vegetarians and things like that. So there are benefits there as well.
Yeah, lots of people say that they feel great on a vegetarian diet, but there are some concerns for women who have PCOS and go on a vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
So some of them include eating a lot of soy. Like soy is rich in protein for vegetarians, but many women with PCOS have a sensitivity to it. And so in addition, most soy contains GMOs, which can be endocrine disruptors, not very good for your hormones. And if you have soy, you want to make sure that you're choosing soy that's not processed and it's non-GMO. And it's kind of hard to come across that, but you have to be careful with soy because that's often what those fake products that they make that are like high in protein
Tofu,
for vegetarian.
Things like that. Yeah.
It's usually made of soy.
Yeah, so if you do like a vegetarian diet, you want to make sure that like you're not basing the protein all around soy and tofu and things like that. Tali mentioned,
women with PCOS have some women have a sensitivity to it. So you want to be mindful if you do choose to eat this.
Okay.
And also, many women feel better eating more protein. So, protein from meat and fish, because grains, although, they have protein in it, and when you're vegetarian, you lean towards grains for your protein, it might be a lot of carbs
Yeah.
for you, and it could increase your blood sugar and insulin levels.
Yeah, I feel like this is really important. We should
Yes.
highlight this aspect. So
This
like
should
when
be the first concern.
so when it comes to PCOS, one of the things, like one of the most important things that we recommend is having a high protein to carb ratio. And a lot of other doctors, like Dr. Nadia Paraguana and many other doctors we've had on agree with this, high protein to carb ratio, because, we need to control the insulin. We need to help heal the insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a vegetarian diet and you're eating all these, grains and carbs, you're looking for basically protein in there, right? So like you're gonna have beans, you're gonna have chickpeas, all these different things that have protein, but they all come with carbs. So like the amount you're raising your protein is not going to be that much higher than the carbs.
Yeah.
So that ratio is going to be too close.
Exactly. So when you're tracking your carb tolerance, it's going to be hard to reduce your carb intake and get enough protein at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have to resort to the processed products that provide more protein, and that might not be ideal.
Yeah.
You might have to have lots of protein shakes to counter how much carbs you're having.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's really challenging for this carb and protein ratio.
Yeah, I feel like it would be crucial for a lot of people to kind of supplement with a protein powder here, because again, it's gonna be hard to have that high ratio.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another concern. So 40% of women with PCOS have IBS,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes it hard to digest foods like beans and other high fiber foods because it causes bloating and gastric upset. So a lot of women, raise your hand if you're listening and you have IBS. This is very common, 40% of sisters. And eating all that fiber can really be distressful.
I wonder how many women just raised their hands while in the office or at home. They were like, yes.
Yes, that's me.
And then their colleague just looked at them, why are you raising your hand right now?
Just listening to a PCOS podcast.
Yeah. It was very interesting. So if like Tanya said, it's very important to consider that. If you have IBS, it's going to be hard to digest foods like beans and these grains and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the gut lining is not very strong. When you have IBS and PCOS in general, a lot of times the gut lining is struggling. You know how I explained how gluten gets through the gut lining, the tight junctions loosen up and, causing bloating and gas and all of these issues. And so, eating grains in general, I remember Dr. William Davis had said this on the podcast. Grains in general, not just gluten alone, grains can cause that gastric upset when you're not able to digest them. So you have to be mindful of your body and to see if this is working for you, not just doing it because it sounds healthy.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of things he mentioned about grains, the cons of it. So I really... I would implore any sister listening right now to listen to that episode if you haven't already. It's just a couple episodes ago. It's called PCOS and Wheat with Dr. Davis. So check that episode out, and you can learn about some of the pros and cons of grains and things like that too.
Yes.
And then, another concern when you're doing the vegetarian or vegan diet is there's a lot of nutrients lacking. So, for example, in a traditional vegetarian diet, usually some of the nutrients that are lacking are B12, omega-3 fats, calcium, and zinc, and a couple of other ones. But these are the main ones that are usually missing in many vegetarian diets because you're not having meats. So omega-3 fats are usually found in fish, things like that. And then B12 is found in meat, and these are really important for energy levels as well as recovery of the muscles and things like that.
And hormonal production.
Yeah.
These are really important nutrients for your hormones.
Absolutely.
So supplementing is really important.
Yeah. So if you're a vegetarian, just it might be really important for you to get your blood work done. Make sure that your levels are all balanced, and if not, then definitely try supplementing, especially with these ones right here if you know that you're low in those.
That's right.
And then, we also want to mention that there is, a lot of herbicides and pesticides that are used with obviously greens and plants and things like that. So you just want to be careful where you're getting your food from, right? You want to make sure it's organic. You want to make sure they're coming from farms that are not using like a crazy amount of pesticides. I gotta say, I have started a farm on our patio, and I am seeing how hard it is to grow kale and things without
spraying.
It's insane. Like, I have all these organic sprays, but they're barely working. Like, they're barely doing the job. I literally had to buy ladybugs to help with the aphid infestation, and like, I think it's going okay. It seems like the ladybugs are doing their thing, but I don't know. Like, we'll see.
I still see aphids.
Yeah, I think we have to wait till they like plant their eggs and stuff like that, and I mean the larvae. But anyways, so yeah, like it's difficult to grow greens without pesticides and herbicides and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're not getting exposure to these over a long-term period, because that can just contribute to other illnesses and things. So just make sure they're coming from good sources.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah. And then, lastly, for pregnant women, it's very important to make sure that you pay a lot of attention to your diet when you're pregnant or when you're lactating. So we're just saying, if you're pregnant or lactating, consult with a doctor to make sure that everything is okay with nutrient levels and things like that, because it's very important in the development of a baby for them to get everything that they need. So we're not saying that you can't do it. We're just saying you always need to consult with a doctor with any diet.
Yeah, make sure you get the right supplements, and you're supervised in doing this with someone who is experienced.
Exactly.
So the bottom line, babe. What's the bottom line with this vegetarian?
The line that goes on the bottom.
There is no one-size-fits-all diet that works best for everyone with PCOS. Mm-hmm. It has to be right for you. So if vegetarian is making you feel good, go for it. Mm-hmm. But if it's not, then consider changing, consider adapting, and figuring out what might work better for you. In our experience, the majority of women with PCOS feel better eating meat from proteins like cow or fish or poultry, mm-hmm. and like organic, pasture raised, of course, minimally processed. Yeah. So that's what we've seen with our community.
Yeah. And just so you don't think we're biased either, like, there is no one size fit diet for everybody, and the same thing goes for gluten dairy free. Like, it may not work for every single person,
right?
So but that's why it's worth trying these different things to see if it's right for you. So I mean, with the vegetarian diet, the same thing applies. Like, there's no one size fits all. It may work for some, it may not work for others. So yeah, just consider that in your experience when trying things out.
Yeah. I did find one study that was done on PCOS women.
Oh, there was a study done with PCOS and vegetarian diet.
Yes.
Okay, this is great. I love it.
62 non-vegetarian women with PCOS from a place in India called Srinagar, and 82 vegetarian PCOS women from Delhi were studied in this research, mm-hmm. and they concluded that vegetarian women with PCOS had significantly higher levels of C-reactive protein and resistin, which are inflammatory markers, mm-hmm. and lower levels of anti-inflammatory adiponectin. So that's not ideal, like having more inflammation.
Yeah.
And then it said, however, their creatinine.
Creatinine. Isn't that what it is? Because you say creatine, right? For creatine. So if it has the NE, creatinine.
Okay. Creatinine, I don't know. Triglycerides and LDL cholesterol levels were higher than the non-vegetarian PCOS women.
What that means?
So the women who were not vegetarian, their LDL and cholesterol were higher. But the women who were vegetarian had more inflammation. So of course the study isn't super conclusive because it's not being done on a global level, and it's just one study, but it was just interesting to see that the women with PCOS who were vegetarian had more inflammation, mm-hmm. being vegetarian.
Yeah.
So a little shocking. I wanted to mention this one study that's been done on women with PCOS. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I mean, and then the people who were doing non-vegetarian, I mean, their cholesterol levels, triglycerides were higher, but it'll be interesting to see, is it so much higher that it makes up for the less inflammation, or vice versa? There's there needs to be more research done on this to know, if you're eating meat with PCOS, is it like how much worse or how much better is it than someone who's not doing that with vegetarian diet?
Yeah. I mean, I read through the study and I was like, okay, this is like some information, but not conclusive. But at least they're starting to do some research on women with PCOS.
Yeah, but it just like I guess one thing to take away is that possibly with vegetarian diet, some women have more inflammation. Could be could be due to those reasons.
Carbs, could be
Some of the
anything.
nutrients are missing. But as Tali mentioned, there needs to be like more research done on this to make it more clear.
Yes. So we have some tips for sisters who are choosing to be vegetarian or eat more plant-based. And we want to go through some of them so that we feel like we're supporting you guys in case you want to be vegetarian. So the first tip is to eat the good carbs, the carbs that have lots of protein in them. So if you're going to choose something, choose beans or quinoa, and try to avoid processed white carbs like bread. So that's our first tip. The second tip is to supplement. So you want to make sure that you're supplementing all these nutrients that Sirak had mentioned that you might not have.
Yeah, like B12, omega-3. There's even choline. You can like consult your doctor to like maybe get like some blood work done, see what what's missing and what's not missing, and then you can like supplement accordingly.
Right. You also want to pair meals with fat. This will help with insulin resistance. Of course, it's going to slow down your body's absorption of the carbs into your bloodstream. And so this is so ideal because the slower it goes into your bloodstream, the less it's going to bombard your cells and cause insulin resistance. So it's great to pair some fat with your meals. You can add olive oil to your meal or avocado or hummus. Things like this will help slow down the absorption of carbs into your bloodstream and also keep you fuller longer. The more fat you put on something.
Especially like avocado. It always helps keep me fuller and goes great with like every meal. I mean, come on.
Every meal.
Come on, avocado.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Take it easy.
All right. The fourth one. Adding fiber into each meal. So I know that we had mentioned like IBS in women with PCOS, and this diet might be too fiberful. So add it slowly add these like vegetables and beans and stuff slowly into your diet because it might cause digestive upset. And you might find that you're like bloated all the time. So you want to add in, 5 grams of fiber a day more. Like each week, increase your fiber intake by 5 grams each day. Yeah. So until you reach like 30 grams a day, which is the ideal amount of fiber. And so if like beans and stuff are causing digestive upset, but you still want to get some nutrients, chia seeds and flax seeds are a better choice because they're easier to digest than those intense grains and beans and stuff.
Yeah, and then wouldn't you say like the same thing applies to people who are non-vegetarian? Like you should be having fiber every day. Make sure like your meals include fiber and you're getting this adequate amount every single day.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get like 30 grams a day. I feel like that's not too difficult to do. It's just that sometimes when you have stomach upset, stomach issues, you can't eat like 30 grams all of a sudden when you decide to like eat healthy. Like you have to add it in 5 grams per week, like at a time, per day, per week.
Oh, good. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I did a little bit of research on like how to get your body to adapt to a high fiber diet. And that's what it said.
So slowly add it to your diet weekly if you're having stomach issues.
Exactly.
Interesting. Interest.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is controlling carbs.
So try to fill up on veggies instead of large portions of grains. So you can also get most of your protein from low carb foods like chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, some non-GMO tofu. But obviously like you want more protein, but when you reach that capacity of carbs, because the protein is found in carbs, then start trying to fill up with veggies and seeds.
Yeah. And like try to add, like if you're trying to get some protein and your only options are carbs, then try to add some sort of like a supplement, like a protein powder that will just give you that protein.
Yeah, protein powder is a great idea.
Yeah.
It's low carb, it's high in protein, it's great.
And that goes into the next tip, which is don't try to meet your protein needs with overly processed soy products. So Tyne talked about earlier how like too much soy can be an issue, as well as there are a lot of like processed stuff for soy, like GMOs and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're not having too much of these products and instead finding other sources of protein, like protein powder.
Non-GMO firm tofu or edamame is a good option.
Yeah,
Do you like edamame?
I do like it at like restaurants and stuff
Yeah.
when they bring out those like beans and stuff and like salted with like garlic
Yeah.
and like
Spices and
I
oily.
miss Korean barbecue so much.
See, that's one thing I'm not cooking, babe. Like, I am not going to
Not making
do
edamame,
all of that.
salted or garlic
Jesus
edamame.
All right.
Yeah, and then if you're trying to include like if you're trying to get protein and things like that, you can still get it from things like chia seeds, flax, hemp seeds, or like like non-GMO tofu.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I think Tanya, you should say this one.
Okay. Paying attention to how your body feels. So if you're really fatigued on a vegetarian diet, it might be because you're having a lot of carbs, and if you feel like you're having a lot of cravings, that might be carbs as well. And so if you're not satisfied, pay attention to how your body feels and don't force yourself to do something that isn't working for you.
Absolutely.
So this style of eating might not be for you. And some people feel better with animal protein, and that's okay too. So you just have to figure out what works for your body.
Exactly.
And I'd like to conclude this section with that, because that is like the bottom line of everything.
Yeah, it's like you always have to try different things to see what's going to be right for you and what's not. And at the end of it, there's like, if you try the vegetarian diet and it's not working for you, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work for anybody. Like, you don't have to like hate that diet. And the same thing vice versa. Like, if vegetarian diet works for you, then you don't have to hate a meat-based diet either. It's just that's what works for that person. That's what works for this person. And yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it's funny because not funny, but like it's interesting because like there's a lot of like bias, or like there's like two groups with the vegetarian diet, right? Like a lot of people are for it while some people aren't. And there's obviously a middle. Like, it's working for some people and it's not working for others. Like, nothing is black and white. So you always have to kind of like see what's happening and like try it for yourself if it may work.
Honestly.
Yeah. Personally, this is just our personal belief. We don't recommend it for like our patients and things like that because of that. All the things we talked about as far as the protein to carb ratio, nutrients that are missing, that are important for recovery. However, we respect everyone's decision to try it and see if it works for them. And especially like if you're doing it for religious reasons or like for animal cruelty, we completely respect your decision and totally understand. That's why it's up to you.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. It's completely up to the person. There's no like team vegetarian, team anti-vegetarian.
Yeah.
It's all like whoever it works for, it works for.
Yeah. And with that being said, we actually asked you, sisters, we asked on Instagram, what has your experience been on the vegetarian diet? And then we got some responses. Tanya, you want to read some of the responses?
Sure. So one of the sisters said, I love being vegetarian, but struggle to balance macros due to high carbs.
Yeah.
This was a pretty common message I was noticing in the sticker.
Yeah. And that's one of the topics we talked about is the high carbs. And like, unfortunately, it can be difficult to get the protein without having high carbs.
Another response, absolutely wreaked havoc on my stomach. This goes back to what we said about IBS.
Yeah.
So, 40% of women with PCOS have IBS, and it could be really painful to eat all of this fiber and all of these grains on a vegetarian diet. So it could really wreak some havoc.
Yeah. Yeah. And then next person said, I was a vegetarian, then vegan, and I had anxiety and was always hungry. It makes sense. Like the hunger could be due to like a lot of the carbs, or maybe perhaps you were having too little carbs could result with hunger, or even not having enough protein. When you don't have protein, high protein with your breakfast, you get hungry faster because the protein a lot of times will keep you fuller for a longer period of time. Yeah,
that blood sugar roller coaster that you go on when you're eating a lot of carbs can trigger anxiety. And I would totally feel anxious if I was vegan because my blood sugar is like really sensitive if I don't like do certain things that keeps it stable, like eating protein, working out, things like that. But I can totally imagine feeling anxiety. Yeah.
And the next person said, I personally love it. I'm full vegan. Well, that's good for that person that it worked for them. Just like with any diet, if it works for you, that's good. And then the next one said, I've been vegetarian for 6 years now, and it hasn't had any impact on my PCOS symptoms.
That's great.
Yeah. That's
Sounds
good.
like she's not, in a super sensitive, like insulin resistant state.
Yeah.
Didn't go so well. Felt exhausted or drained most of the time because of the high carbs.
Yeah. And it caused maybe also because of the nutrients missing, things like that, protein
Right.
missing, things like that, like related to the other one that we read.
Mm-hmm. And then the last sister says, do you want to say this one?
Sure. She says, amazing, less bloating, beautiful skin, and better energy. Well, that's
then
great
it's
for you,
working
sister.
for you.
Yeah, that's great for you,
Better
sister.
stick to it, girl.
All right. Well, I guess that concludes basically the topic on the vegetarian diet. We kind of read your responses, your experiences. We talked about the pros and cons, our conclusion, as well as the tips to make a vegetarian diet PCOS friendly if that's what you choose. So we hope that was very helpful, but we're not done yet. We have the PCOS hotline. We're going to answer a question from the hotline, and today's message comes from...
Hi guys, thank you so much for creating this hotline so that people like me can ask questions. I'm still fairly new. I think I actually joined a day ago, but I have been debating whether or not to go gluten-free and dairy-free for a long time, and only recently has it really started to affect my life in a very negative way. So I've decided that this is something that is good for me, but the reason it's been so hard for me to decide is because I'm a very avid home baker, and gluten and dairy is something that's very important for a lot of recipes that I use. So my main question, I think, would be, what sweeteners would you guys recommend as an alternative to sugar that wouldn't be a danger to insulin spiking, if that makes sense? Because I feel like with dairy and gluten, those are pretty easy to find alternatives for those in baking most of the time, but it's the sweeteners that tend to be a little bit harder, I would say, because honey is a liquid, and sometimes liquid sweeteners aren't very good for certain recipes, and then stevia, kind of has that odd taste in the background that some people don't enjoy. So if you guys could give me some tips on that would be very helpful. Thank you again.
Great question. I think,
This is
Tyne,
great.
this is a perfect question for you.
I mean, honestly, so just because, you have PCOS doesn't mean that you have to completely cut out all of the fun foods that have sugar in it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, ideally, you're minimizing your sugar as much as possible on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like to bake a sweet treat every so often, I think that, having some is completely fine, and it's a lifestyle. So you want to do what makes you happy. Now, personally, I cut the sugar of everything I bake in half. That's why I'm not like a renowned baker in the family or amongst my friends. But that's fine because
Hey, I enjoy it.
Thank you.
I love them.
Yes. I have adapted my palate to a less sweet, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't crave that type of extremely sugary cake or cookie or whatever. Like, I really enjoy it when it's not like slapping me in the face with sugar. Because I've adapted to that. Like, I've really honed in my insulin resistance, and I'm okay with that. So what I do is cut like half the sugar of every recipe. And then I also try to replace like white sugar with fruit. So maybe like a banana bread or applesauce or something like that to add its sweetness. I get creative. I just try to find ways to like not have to put so much sugar into the dish or the pastry or whatever it is that you're baking, and also adding like nuts, things like that, to help slow down its absorption in your bloodstream. Cooking with almond butter, whatever, peanut butter.
What do you think about other alternatives like artificial sweeteners like stevia, or like or maybe even like brown sugar, things like that?
Good question. So I don't replace sugar with artificial sweeteners. Like, I don't think that they're any better than sugar. So in fact, artificial sweeteners can make your body think you're eating something a million times sweeter than actual sugar, and pump that insulin up because your body thinks you're eating something sweet, and then make insulin resistance worse, even though it's not affecting your blood sugar. So I've had patients who are like addicted to sugar. They move to artificial sweeteners, and then this addiction for sugar gets so much worse. So I've seen it before, and obviously it's not everyone that this happens to, but you know, most of my patients who have had experience with artificial sweeteners, this happened. So I don't recommend like baking with it. It doesn't even taste that good. Just use
the
sugar.
sister was saying it gives like that chalky, weird taste.
Yeah, it's like so weird. It's like super a million times sweeter than sugar. So just replace it with fruit, replace it with, you know, take out half of the sugar. Maybe it won't taste like it used to, but that's my solution.
And also remember, like, if you're, you know, following like a consistent lifestyle, you can have fun and bake sweet things and things like that. So great.
Yeah, live your life.
Great. Well, great tips on baking, babe. I have nothing else to add.
Sirak hates it when I bake something that's too sugary.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he will ask me how many grams of sugar are in this cookie.
Yeah, in this one slice, how much? And you don't tell me, like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I want a nutrition label on what I eat.
Is that why you married me?
Yes.
Dietitian?
Dietitian, yes.
Because you thought your dinner would come with a nutrition label?
Exactly.
Okay.
Alrighty. So let's move on to the last part of the episode, which is the win of the week. If you're new, every week we announce like a winner, a sister who's taking a step with her PCOS journey, or maybe she's meeting her goals or her anything basically. So today it looks like we have 2 winners for today, right?
That's right.
All right. Should I say the first winner?
Sure.
All right. The first winner is Prakriti. Prakriti says, "Hi Tallene, I've been gluten and dairy free for 2 weeks now and I've already lost 2.5 kilograms. She says that's 5.5 pounds. I'm so excited. I don't get cravings anymore and I only eat when I'm hungry. Thank you for all your information." Awesome.
I love this
This
one.
is really good. And I mean, she says, I don't get cravings anymore and I only eat when I'm hungry. I mean, it sounds like she's got control of that insulin resistance.
Yes.
Doing things to help control it.
We talk about how gluten and dairy affect your hunger hormones.
Oh, yeah.
And satiety hormones. And, you know, this is why I chose this one, because she says, I only eat when I'm hungry. And it's like a lot of sisters say that like they don't even feel hungry sometimes, or sometimes they feel hungry all the time. It's just like this up and down mess. And it sounds like she has it under control by going gluten and dairy free.
Yeah. Amazing.
So
Amazing.
the next one.
Yes.
Dolly Jacqueline says, Tallene, exactly 1 month ago, my Ovasitol arrived. Today, I got my first natural period.
Wow.
I hadn't had one since the end of July when I stopped taking birth control. I am trying my best to follow up with my gluten and dairy-free diet. Little mistakes here and there which have caused me not to lose weight yet, but I have not been gaining any weight either. Thank you so much for sticking with us sisters through this journey. Much love.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
This is crazy to me. Like, we keep on reading messages like this where someone says, I got my period after, this much time. And
I love it. Yeah.
It's crazy that like this is happening through natural supplements like Ovasitol and diet and lifestyle change. And it's beautiful to hear.
And I chose this one because she didn't actually lose weight yet, but she's still seeing good results with it, and she's sticking to it, and she's going to wait and layer in other lifestyle changes to see what's going to work for her. She's not giving up. So I think that's an important message.
Yes.
Even, while we're reading all these great wins.
Yeah. And it's like, if you're feeling good, if there are things happening from the inside that's making you feel good, like in this case, she got her first natural period. Like that, those are signs saying that like, there's some positive things happening. And if you like continue, more and more things can happen.
Exactly. It's awesome.
Amazing.
I love it.
All right. This was a great episode.
Yeah, this was fun, ladies.
Yeah, it was fun. We even read the assumptions, which I wasn't even planning on reading those, but that was pretty fun.
Whip that out on you.
Alrighty, sisters. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review if you enjoy this one, and we'll be back next week with another one.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come check out the Sisterhood. It's my monthly membership site where sisters just like you are learning how to move through the stages of PCOS. From stage 1, cold and alone at the doctor's office, to stage 5, nailing the PCOS lifestyle, gluten and dairy free. Get ready to finally feel in control of your body again.
Sister.